I'm not sure how much success I'm going to have trying to keep this under 20 minutes, but I have been trying to record it. Well, I've recorded it once or twice and deleted it. Held my thoughts in, observed the summer, the quiet summer, and all that stuff. But it's time to give some honest feelings about this upcoming season for the Philadelphia 76ers. Not necessarily going to have a lot of takes or anything like that. There might be some analysis and stuff like that. Figured I would record this after the preseason finale. Didn't want to record it before, just given how, as a Sixer fan, I'm just so used to waiting for good news and then waiting for the guillotine to drop on the other end. But it appears everything's good. So I'm going to jump in to how I'm feeling about the Sixer season, or I guess how I felt since last season ended, because obviously last season was a disaster. Around summer of 2024, or at the end of the 2024 playoffs, I felt optimistic going into free agency. We were going to have a lot of cap space. We're going to put a real team around Embiid, win the Paul George sweepstakes, and everything was looking good, even though there was the whole specter of Embiid tearing his meniscus in his left knee for the second time and how he might have to deal with that for the rest of his career, which we will get into. And then the season from hell happened. The knee kept acting up for Embiid. Paul George hyperextended his knee in preseason, and that bothered him for a chunk of the year. Dealt with the pinky injury, mallet finger basically. Just injuries everywhere. 35 different starting lineups with, a few shines of light like Jared McCain, who would then go out for the year because of a torn meniscus. Quentin Grimes coming after the trade deadline. A whole lot happened. And understandably, a lot of Sixer fans, including myself, were kind of just burnt out. And then the summer kind of turned into unknown, what's going to happen with Embiid, et cetera, et cetera. And now, honestly, just to wrap it all up really quick and not recap everything, going into a few days now, the season openers this upcoming Wednesday against the Boston Celtics, I feel a lot better compared to, I guess, not before the start of last season, because like I said, I was pretty confident in this team. I had picked them to go to the Eastern Conference Finals, which was obviously a colossal misfire on my part. The feeling started being bad immediately, like into the season. It was like we started like 3-14 or some shit like that, and then we would get these 2 weeks of, a taste of what it could be like. There was that December where we went 9-3, beat Boston, which was literally the only highlight of the season. But the vibes got bad pretty quickly. I feel a lot better now than I did over this past summer. And the reason why, and I guess we'll just go into the really big thing, because I really think it trickles down off of this, but Joel Embiid looks good. And I understand saying that means that a 2-ton anvil is going to drop on my head like a Looney Tunes character. But if you are just talking about his injury and stuff like that, his injury history, I get it. And nobody really knew what was going on over the summer. Embiid had surgery in February. It was supposed to be a 6 to 8 week thing. We really didn't hear shit from him all summer, which I thought was a good thing, actually. But Embiid coming into this season looking the skinniest that he's ever been. I have watched Joel Embiid since his days at Kansas, as maybe some OG subscribers in this channel very well know. And this is the skinniest Embiid has been in his career. He looks good, man. And when that meniscus injury happened on January of 2024, when Kuminga fell on it, Zach Lowe intimated it on his podcast when he was still with ESPN. The Rights to Ricky Sanchez guys talked about it. Even that YouTube doctor, Dr. Brian Sutterer, talked about it. I think a lot of people just don't know what Embiid's injury is or why he missed so many games last year. And that's why all the narratives that started forming around Embiid were pissing me off, because it just came from a source of misinformation and, you know, the takes about him not caring about basketball anymore and not loving the game anymore. And I'm not just talking about Twitter trolls saying this. This was actual members of the media saying this shit just baselessly, like Timberwolves broadcaster Jim Pete or Kendrick Perkins saying Embiid doesn't appear to love the game or whatever. The guy just couldn't play last year because I think people don't understand that he is now dealing with a knee condition he is going to have to learn how to play with for the rest of his career. I said it early on last season too, like that knee is Tim Duncan's. He is going to have to do the proper things to be able to play with a knee like that for the rest of his career. Dwayne Wade had his meniscus completely taken out in college. It affected him as he started to enter into his 30s, and he had to change his body, play a more ground-bound base game towards the end of the Miami Heat Big Three era. Because 2011 and 2012, I really feel like that was the last of the peak Wade athleticism that we saw before we saw that knee starting to slow him down. Tim Duncan had meniscus surgery in his left knee, I believe it was, had to wear a brace for the back end of his career, and also had to, you know, basically was skinny Duncan for the rest of his career, right? What I am seeing now is what I had hoped I would see from Embiid this summer, a quiet summer. The fact that he clearly looked 30 pounds when the Sixers social media started posting pictures of Embiid playing 5-on-5 and practicing and stuff. That's where I started to feel really good, because he looked skinny, and this was like back in September, and apparently a few weeks prior he had been participating in 5-on-5s, and the team's really been working on being in the gym together and all this stuff, which I will talk about in a bit. But basically last night's preseason game and then the blue and white scrimmage game, which was another sign that I was going to be really optimistic and really sign myself up to get hurt again. Embiid playing in the blue and white scrimmage last weekend, and then Embiid playing in the preseason opener last night. He looks good. He looks like normal Embiid. I mean, he's moving a tad bit slower because he's older, and you could tell, like, last night there were a lot of good things that I liked from Embiid. He was clearly trying out more ground-bound stuff, like he had a pump-and-go drive from the three-point line, which all Sixer fans just have mini heart attacks watching Embiid drive from the three-point line. But he did a nice Euro step, did a high right-handed, like, lofting floater for a layup. And then this is when I knew we were really back. Embiid had the annual injury scare, or where he's wincing or whatever. He drove from the three-point line in the third quarter, ran right into Leonard Miller for a charge, and was instantly hurt. Or not hurt, but like rolling around. But then he got back up quickly, jogged back. But he appeared to be okay. And I'm recording this on a Saturday morning where we haven't gotten an update yet. Hopefully there's no swelling. But given the fact that he has participated in most of training camp, which wasn't the case last year, and weeks prior to that, he had been practicing and doing 5-on-5s and stuff like that, and clearly looks like he is in better shape. There's no reason to go into the season and not be optimistic. Like, everybody understands that, you know, 3 weeks from now we could be saying something different, etc. We're just at the point, or I'm at the point, where I'm just going to enjoy the games that I get to see Embiid play. But the fact that he is basically moving like pre-Kuminga falling on his knee Embiid, it's a great sign, and it makes me really excited for the prospects of this upcoming season. Granted, he could play 50 to 55 games, but I think it's important for people to understand the injury Embiid is dealing with is not one where you have to heal from it and come back. It's something he's going to have to play with for the rest of his career. And so based off that information, if you're confident that Embiid can do the things like maintain his body, his diet, whatever, all the things he has been working on over the summer to be able to play with this knee condition, then you can, make the assessment whether you believe that he can play through a whole season or whatever. But I think a lot of people just had no idea what his injury is. Part of that is because of him. Part of that is because of the Sixers. But that's the reality of it. And people just speaking ignorantly from not knowing what he was dealing with. I mean, think about it. He tore his meniscus when Kuminga fell on the knee. He came back early for the 2024 playoffs and was basically averaging 33 and 11 on one leg. He goes into the summer playing on the Olympics. He probably thinks he can go into the season thinking that he's coming back from a knee injury like normal. I'm 29 years old. I just averaged a point per minute last season and thought he could come in the same way. And that wasn't the case. He would play for a week, practice for a week, and the knee would swell up, and that would set him back. He would have a good 2 weeks, like in December, knee swelling, set him back. And then finally, it was just a cry for help when he said on national TV he might have to get surgery. I know this section's a little long on Embiid, but it kind of is important because it trickles out of everything else. But the reality is there's just not enough meniscus in his left knee, most likely. And he probably had some cleanup surgery or whatever to make himself at least mentally feel better. And then he started attacking, the rehab and then establishing the plan of attack that he wanted to be able to play with this for the rest of his career. And I think he's done all that. He clearly looks like he's in a better place. So that makes me very excited. It's a lighter Embiid. He's running up and down the floor well. I don't think he's going to be able to jump constantly like in the old days or whatever. I think he's going to be a little bit more ground bound, but he's moving well laterally. Defensively, he was active with his hands, and he was doing little things yesterday like boxing out, which is probably a good tell sign that Embiid is going to probably adjust his game a little bit to be able to play more ground bound, like boxing out so other guys can get the rebound. That's the thing with Embiid's knee, is that if there's like a little explosion that's sapped in that knee, then that means he can't protect the rim as effectively as he used to. And the driving game, which is one of the core principles of Embiid's skill set, is being able to drive by people. If you can't plant on that left knee and explode like he usually does, then he's just not as effective. And if you just watch Embiid's games from last year and watch him last night against the Timberwolves, granted it was against the JV squad, that part doesn't fucking matter, but have to preface that. He looks good. And so then that trickles in out of everything else. So what does that mean for this Sixers season? Well, the way the Sixers have approached this season, I've really liked, because it's sort of an effective thing where you could just be like, look, we have all these exciting young guards. We have Edgecombe, we have McCain, we have Maxey. We're going to try to bring back Quentin Grimes on a long-term deal, and I'm still pissed the Sixers didn't figure that out. But hopefully they figure it out in the offseason, because I do think Quentin Grimes is a good player, and it's good to have good players on your team, especially a young-ish guard like that. Selling us on, we're going to play faster, we're more athletic, we're going to sign younger power forwards, all that stuff. And you could just see there was a different mentality shift, and they kind of put Embiid and Paul George on the back burner. And that's kind of worked, because there is a lot to be excited about with VJ Edgecombe. The fact that he is starting already, or Nick Nurse is really hell-bent on putting him in the starting lineup next to Maxey. I think that's going to be fun. That was fun to watch yesterday, especially with Embiid on the floor. You could just see there was just so much space for these guys to operate. That part's exciting. That means Edgecombe is way ahead than what maybe people thought pre-Summer League. That's honestly a really good fit next to Maxey to get someone to play off the ball. And honestly, that's somebody that's perfect for Embiid, who at this stage in his career is mostly just going to play drop coverage all the time. And Edgecombe just fights over screens. Like, there is a lot to like here if Embiid is, I'm not asking him to be 2023-24 Embiid, but you could just see that physically he looks fine. The jumper's still there. I think yesterday he was trying to test out some drives to see if he could have confidence in that knee. The coast to coast, just taking the rebound and going coast to coast for the layup, the Euro step layup, where he plants on that left knee. That was when I was like, okay, he's back. That's just the main thing. I'm excited that Embiid just looks healthy. And now look at me. I'm already like near 20 minutes talking about Embiid. But it's important, man, because look, whether we like it or not, Embiid's under contract for 3 more years. I don't think that contract's tradable. And so it's nice to have some gravy on top, just being like, hey, an MVP caliber type player looks like him now, completely healthy. But that's the issue. Or we will see as the season goes on, it's touch and go. What I am excited about, though, beyond that, which is another reason why I'm excited for the Sixers season, is that I really am looking forward to seeing 4 guards in this rotation. The Sixers, for a long time, haven't had more than like 2 dynamic guards. Sometimes just one, and one of them couldn't shoot. Ben Simmons, of course. Markelle Fultz forgot how to shoot. And so when Tyrese Maxey shows up on the scene, shooting off the dribble and stuff like that by his second year, everyone's like, oh shit. But look at what we have now. This is the type of team I would have loved to have, seen built around Embiid in his 3rd year. Quentin Grimes, Tyrese Maxey, VJ Edgecombe, Jared McCain all do different things. Maxey and Edgecombe are just wondrous to watch in transition. I love watching them. They are awesome. Edgecombe looks like he can handle the ball a little bit more. Maybe his ball handling is a little bit more ready than people think. And so Maxey was able to play off ball. Grimes. The McCain injury is a bummer because, of course, the Sixers can't have anything fucking nice for a while. But at least he will be back, I would imagine, by mid-November, early December at the latest. So it's not like it's an injury that'll put him out for the rest, but I am excited to see what Jared McCain brings. I'm wondering if the games that he played last year was just a product of small sample size, or just is he really like that? Because I love his skill set, a 40% three-point shooter that could shoot off the dribble like that, but more importantly, just understands the nuances of moving off the ball and stuff. And that's where I think Jared McCain is like, it's been brought up before, but he's like one of the real Steph disciples, where it's not all about shooting off the dribble. It's about moving without the ball and utilizing your gravity and your defensive attention to open things up. And McCain understands that greatly. I like the flyers they took over the summer at power forward with Dominic Barlow, Trendon Watford, who was fun to watch on the Brooklyn Nets while I was watching them in the great tank off with the 76ers. I was watching a lot of tanking teams towards the end there. And I love Trendon. I've always liked Trendon Watford's skill set, even going back to Portland. Just a big 6'9", ball handling, playmaking big that kind of has like a nice little floater game too. Somebody that also has a connection with one of the team's best players. And I know that probably doesn't mean much, but it's nice to have some chemistry out there. And just watching that game yesterday against the Timberwolves, I can see where Trendon Watford's skill set will fit, because this team is hell-bent on getting out on running. I mean, Nick Nurse started Adem Bona, Kelly Oubre, Edgecombe, and Maxey next to Embiid, and they were just getting out and running. There's just a lot of interesting things this team could do if everybody's healthy. And so far, everybody looks healthy. It seems like everybody, just based on how they were talking on media day and stuff like that, and how they were in the gym early, way before training camp and media day and stuff like that, seems like everybody took last year personally, which is great, because last year was fucking terrible. And they seem to be like, look, we're in this together. They're looking like they are bonding more. I don't know. I really like the vibes around this team compared to the start of last year. I'm not going to say before the start of last year, because I felt good just coming off of the free agency that we had. But just in terms of okay, we were obviously scarred. You think the worst. I have the Sixers ranked 21st, I think, in my power rankings. And then just moving closer to the season, I just feel really good about this. Now, for the starting lineup, I wonder what people think, but I think it looks like Nick Nurse for the time being while Paul George is coming back. And look, even Paul George's prognosis, it looks like he's already doing practice and 5-on-5s and stuff. And it looks like he might come back by, I don't know, early November, first week in November. That's exciting. And also, I just need to say this. Paul George defensively last year, the first 3 months of the season, I thought Paul George was fucking fantastic defensively. He was just missing open jump shots. And like I said when we signed Paul George at the time, that's all I need him to do. Shoot, move off of screens and shoot, defend, attack closeouts. You are not the Indiana guy anymore. I don't need you creating in one-on-one. And with that skill set fit in with these dynamic guards and Joel Embiid, that's exciting. Now, I do wonder if he's going to start at power forward. That's most likely probably going to be the case, but he's out right now, so Nick Nurse has tried shit. That's the other thing, too. Nick Nurse is trying shit with these athletes. He started in Dembona next to Embiid, which, I'm not going to lie, I kind of like that look. I don't like the look with Oubre in the starting lineup, though. And so he probably needs to start Grimes, but the thing is, Nick Nurse says he's willing to start 3-guard lineups. He's probably going to go to that a lot, which is shit that I like to hear. I like to hear that Nick Nurse is trying shit, and he's saying he's trying shit. But, look, the East is wide open. Embiid looks good. For how long, who knows? I don't think anybody who says, like, oh, anybody who's probably going to comment and be like, oh, well, Embiid's going to get hurt in 2 weeks or whatever. You're not saying anything original, dude. Like, you're just not. We know. So let's just play it out and let's see. But even if it's, a not-so-lucky season for Embiid and Paul George, there is a core to look forward to after Embiid and PG, with Maxey, McCain, Edgecombe, Bona, whatever other draft picks Daryl Morey will oversee in the next few years, if he even makes it that far. But regardless, I think there is good reason for some optimism going into this year, at least with Embiid's health, because Embiid's health is basically this. How is he going to work constantly around playing on a knee condition for the rest of his career? And so far, he's on track for that. He looked good in the blue-white scrimmage game, and I saw extended 10-minute YouTube clips of that where he was moving well. He looked good yesterday. He's not playing with the knee brace, which is very interesting, because in training camp and stuff, it looks like he was playing with a smaller, more fit, slim knee brace compared to the bulky shit he's been wearing going back to, the 2024 Knicks series and going into the Olympics and that season. But he wasn't wearing a brace last night. Embiid has said very clearly that mentally he's in a better place, physically he's in a better place, and I think he's at peace, and I think he really means that. Embiid is one of those dudes that wears his heart on his sleeve, and when he opens up rarely and says that he is in a better place mentally and he is at peace with where his body's at and stuff like that, I believe him. And thus, I believe the work that he has put in, because there are very clear, visible results. And now, just got to let the basketball gods take the wheel. For better or for fucking worse. But either way, I'm not going into this season necessarily expecting us to come out the East or anything like that. I would just like a pleasant season. Maybe I would love to have the high-end spectrum of the optimism for this season where, the Sixers do make the conference finals in a weak East and stuff like that. But honestly, we got to see. But a lot of stuff is encouraging. And right now, at least for me, I guess like Joel Embiid, I'm at peace and I'm in a better place when it comes to the Sixers team. I'm not going to come into it with high expectations. I'm just going to enjoy it. I'm going to enjoy watching what has been one of my favorite players that I have tracked, covered, and rooted for. Watch the young guys. Watch Edgecombe, who I fucking love already. We'll see where the season takes us.